Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have a quite unusual guest. He is Captain Thomas Teague. He has written a book called Tales from a Tugboat Captain, and you guessed it right. He spends most of his time on a tugboat. Welcome, Thomas. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Oh, hello, Lana. Thank you.
All righty. So I read in the beginning here that you got started in the tugboat industry over 40 years ago. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes. I started full time when I was 20 years old, so it's
20.
been 40 some years. Yes.
What makes a young man say, you know what? I think I'm just going to live on a boat for a while here. What is that about?
Well, it kind of happened by accident, and little at a time. There was a tugboat company not far from where I lived when I was that age, and started working part time. And then I almost joined the Navy because I couldn't get a full time job. But the night before I went to swear in to the Navy, the captain called me and offered me a job. So I was 20 years old and got my first full time job.
Okay, great. Now I want to make sure all my audience is aware because a tugboat is the greatest symbolism of motivation. It's the little guy out in front that pulls the big guys, right?
That's right, sure. It's a little boat. We have a lot of horsepower. My boat is a harbor boat. It has 2,200 horsepower, two engines at 1,100 horsepower apiece. But we dock ships, move barges. It's a lot of power for a little boat, yes.
Okay. If I may ask, what area do you predominantly work out of?
I work in New York Harbor.
Oh, you were in New York. Okay. All right. I have a lot of friends who, through the years, have relocated to Alaska to work in the maritime industry for the money. You know, it's always the enticement is the money. But it is a very demanding lifestyle, I'm understanding, correct?
Well, it is. You're away from home. Most of the companies now you work equal time. If you live on the boat for 2 weeks, they send you home for 2 weeks. My harbor boat, I work 7 days on the boat, and then I'm home for 7 days.
Okay.
I started working in Philadelphia area and Baltimore area, but like you were mentioning to people in Alaska, I got a call to go to New York, and it pays a little better. So that's why I ended up there.
Okay, so 7 days on, I never pictured that you guys were on there so long. I just figured it was like a 9 to 5 thing. You'd go out in the morning and come back. But why do you guys have to stay there for so long?
Well, you live on the boat. The
Okay.
entire crew lives on the boat, and the business is a 24-hour operation.
Oh, okay. So
So
boats are coming in all the time. Okay, now
sure,
it's coming clear. It's coming clear. I'm a little slow sometimes, but it's
yeah.
it's coming
So,
together.
so it's a 24-hour operation. There's no holidays on the river. I mean, it just keeps.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, how large is the crew typically on a tugboat?
For my harbor boat, there's 5 men: captain, mate, engineer, and two deckhands. So
Okay.
my watch, I work from 6 in the morning till noon with one deckhand and the engineer, and then from noon to 6 in the evening, the mate and the deckhand are on watch. So
Okay.
that you just keep working that cycle right on around 24 hours.
Now we're calling you Captain Thomas Teague. Is there a process to go through to get promoted to captain, or how does that work out?
It's a very difficult process.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot of schooling involved, and you need to have a lot of experience to prove yourself. But it takes a while. I started when I was 20. I got my first license when I was 22, and a mate's job when I was 24, and a captain's job I think I was 28.
Okay.
So it takes time, and the entire time I was taking classes, upgrading my license, and getting experience
Okay.
and honing my skills, I guess you could say.
Honing your skills. Great. So you've been at this, like you mentioned, since you were 20 years old. Was there ever any thought like, forget this, I'm going to go live on land for a while?
Yes, I was working in the Gulf of Mexico when I was young, 21, and the schedule down there at that time was 4 weeks on the boat and then 2 weeks home.
Wow.
So after about a year and a half, I got tired of that, and I quit the boat down there and took 2 weeks off. And then I started right back up. I got a job in Philadelphia. So didn't last very long.
Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming that it's something that you like very much. What is it about being on the tugboat that you enjoy?
Well, back then it was an adventure. You go out on the boat and you were virtually invisible. Nobody could. You had limited contact with your office and the world around you.
Hmm.
So that was appealing. Uh, do you have a copy of my book?
No, I just have the front and back and some blurbs from it. I do have some blurbs from it.
Okay, so it was back in the 70s and the 80s. It was a lot of fun. Um, uh, you had when you got shore leave, you could go up and do what young guys do, drinking and fighting sometimes, and it was just different. It was a very independent lifestyle.
Okay, it reminds me of going to San Diego. Sometimes you see the young, newly enlisted Marines and Army folks, all that stuff, and they get some time off, and it's just
Yeah,
a recipe for chaos.
yeah, the drunken sailor on leave, right?
Yes, yes, a recipe for chaos.
So
Okay.
some of that happened working on the tugboats back then. So and it always paid better than a job uh, on land. It's a
Okay.
pretty high priced job.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, and you're away from home, but they compensate you for that.
Okay. Now you mentioned a couple times you're away from home for long periods of time. I'm assuming it makes it very difficult to have any kind of romantic life.
It's well, my wife says she's a saint for staying with me so long. But, there's a lot of marital problems in this business. Yes, with guys being gone half the time or more.
Okay.
It takes a special woman to stay with the guy that's only living with her half the time. So,
Okay.
um, but there are a lot of problems, a lot of divorces, and problems like that. Yes.
Okay. So now that you've been at it for a minute, what suggestions would you give to kind of keep relationships going?
Um, well, nowadays you can stay in contact. You
Oh
know,
yes, because
cell phone.
we
You can
have
stay.
these things. Yeah.
The guys talk to their wives or girlfriends every day.
Hmm.
Um, when I started, there was no uh, contact. I mean, I'd be offshore for 2 or 3 weeks, and then when you come in, you go look for a payphone,
Hmm.
and that guys don't even know what that is anymore.
Right.
So that's the difference. They can stay close contact now.
Okay, okay. And some might say the absence that probably helps relationships last longer anyway. So maybe it's a benefit.
That's well, my wife says we've been married 44 years, but actually it's only 22. I've only been home half the time.
Okay,
So,
okay,
so you're right on that point. Yes.
okay. So what type of person, because it seems that you have to have a certain amount of fortitude, a certain type of personality. What type of person makes a good fit for this career?
Well, nowadays you have to go to a maritime college
Oh,
to
you
be
do?
admitted
Okay.
to even apply for a job. The companies and insurance companies want licensed men. So it's a different breed of men. I mean, if they go to 2 or 4 years of college, they're already squared away and used to living with guys and been shipped out. So it's close quarters on the boat. You're living with 4 or 5, 6 other men. But these guys coming out of the college now, they're squared away and really, really adapted to it.
Now that must be a shift because, like I said, I told you I have some friends who went up to Alaska, and I don't seem to recall, and I might just be missing it, but I don't seem to recall education being a requirement. Is that a new thing that's kind of transitioned in?
Yes, over the years, it is transitioned in. When I started, I had no license. I just
Okay.
told the man I wanted a job and then start learning and educating yourself from then. But it was a long time for me to get my license, relatively.
Okay.
But nowadays, the companies want college education.
Okay. Okay. What is the what are some of the more difficult issues about doing the tugboat thing? Like I'm imagining my first thought is like the Panama Canal, and it's such a small space, and you can't you can't misstep and get the big guy to the left or to the right too much. But what are the dangers involved in being a tugboat guy?
Well, New York Harbor is very busy. There's a lot of traffic. You have to pay attention. The radio, we have 3 radios on the boat. You're listening to the Coast Guard, vessel traffic, and other traffic to avoid collisions and know where everyone is. We have radar, we have chart plotters. But I guess some of the dangers in wintertime is a hard one for the deck.
Oh, in New York, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So the ice and the cold. So, but just having a good, educated, experienced crew eliminates most of the problems. Just knowing how to react to all the situations that you encounter.
Okay. Now, I'm really very naive about the whole tugboat industry, but I've heard you say it a couple of times. I'm wondering, are there any females in the industry?
Very few.
Okay,
Very few. My company has 360 employees, and I think we have 3 women that work on the boats. Yeah, so it's not many.
Okay, so we have a situation where you have like 5 people on a boat together for long periods of time, and I'm thinking, you guys get a schedule. Is there some sort of preparation before you get on the boat? I'm envisioning like firemen. You guys go to the grocery store and pack up all your goods and wares or whatever. But is there some pre-preparation for the 7 days on?
Some. Once you get assigned to a boat, when you first go on the boat, you bring the essentials, rain gear and boots and stuff, extra stuff. But you have a room to leave a lot of your stuff on the boat.
Okay.
So when you go home, you don't have to carry as much stuff the next time.
Okay.
And when we first go to the boat, we get time to go grocery shopping. That's the main thing, getting food. They call it grub. That's a Navy term. We got to put grub on the boat. So.
Okay.
But the company gives us time for that. I mean, we have to have food, but there's some preparation. Okay. So we do a lot of it when we get on board.
Okay. Is there a lot of downtime when you're on the boat?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Not in New York Harbor, no.
Oh, it's constantly
kind of busy, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the whole process, time-wise, so the big guy comes in, you guys connect, and you guys maneuver them to where they go. Is that like an hour process, 2 hours? Like I said, I'm kind of naive. I don't know how it all works.
Okay. Well, the ships from the sea buoy, when they first come in and the Coast Guard boards them to do their investigation, is 16 miles up to the harbor. So we have time. We know when they're coming.
Okay.
And when they entered the harbor, the proper harbor, it's called, that's when the tugboats meet the ship.
Okay.
And the Coast Guard has regulations of how many tugboats are needed on what size ship. So it could be 2 boats. There were as many as 5 boats on each ship that comes in. So the timing is, it could be 2 hours, it could be 4 hours. Depends on where they're going in the harbor.
Okay. All right. I'm just learning stuff. Like I said, I have envisions of my little childhood preschool kind of tugboat cartoon pictures. But I just never envisioned the whole thing. And what was the eye opener for me? I could have just figured you guys did a 9 to 5. You clock in the morning and go home at night. But you guys are there for a long period of time.
Live on the boat. We live on the boat. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So it seems like it would be a safe profession, but it's actually very dangerous. What's the scariest things that you've encountered over the years?
It can be dangerous, and it happens in an instant, which that's how accidents happen. But the company I work for, we move barges. We move gasoline, diesel fuel, ethanol, jet fuel. And that's a longer trip. We'll load in New York or New Jersey and take it to Albany or to Bridgeport, Connecticut, or Maine or other places. So those trips are longer.
Okay.
But the lines and cables that we use to connect the boat to the barge are very tight. And that's one lesson you teach the guys. If that line or cable parts, the recoil
Mhm.
could hurt or kill you. And that
Mhm.
has happened,
Mhm.
unfortunately, over the years. People have been hurt and killed with that.
Oh man. Oh wow.
And of course, there's always the falling overboard thing you have to think about. And I mean, even if you're wearing, uh, we call them life jackets, but now they're called personal flotation devices.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Get
the
all
new.
spiffy. Get all spiffy with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
get this. So, especially in the winter, if you're wearing a life jacket, if you fall overboard, you can still float, but you probably freeze to death. Hypothermia.
Mm.
So that's always a thing. You don't fall overboard. You either get crushed by the boat or you'll freeze to death, drown, whatever. So that's always something.
Okay. Okay. Is it a lot of younger people that are entering into the field, or is it all age brackets, or?
It's we had a lull for a while. We weren't getting anyone in the business. And then there was a shortage. And so now the kids are going to the Maritime school and we're getting the younger guys coming in now,
Yeah.
24, 28, they've been through the college.
Yeah, because I just don't, as you travel about in the world, I just don't hear uh, being a tugboat operator being a career field that's highly promoted. So I'm just wondering where you get the staffing from. But
But yeah, the word's out there now. A few years ago, we sent representatives to high schools to
okay,
try to tell the kids, educate them. This is a good job, it's a good career, but you have to go to college and get squared away and get a license, and it's a good job.
so entry level there in New York, what would be a starting salary?
40,000 for a
Oh,
day.
that's a good salary for a young kid out of,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so that's a plug, young folks, you think about that as an option because I
yeah.
like to tell everybody that college, a four-year college and university is not for everybody. So we have some options. Okay,
Yeah.
alrighty.
And
So,
so, and that's the entry level, but they have a license, a Coast Guard license coming out of college, and that's easier for them to work their way up. They can work up to be a mate or an assistant engineer on the boat, and then that keeps the pay keeps going up.
okay.
Hmm.
And the Coast Guard is the immediate law enforcement agency over all of you guys?
They're the guys. Yep.
He's
That's the man.
smiling.
Yep. That's the guy you got to be nice to. He's in charge. They're the licensing department, and they're
Okay.
also the enforcement department.
Okay, so they come on the boats from time to time and inspect certain things?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
What
Yes.
what are they looking for?
Safety equipment, your licensing, all your credentials up to date. Um, the safety, there's a lot of regulations now with the boats. Safety equipment, pollution, preventive equipment, firefighting equipment. So there's a lot for them to go through. If you get a Coast Guard inspection, it'll be 4 to 6 hours. I mean, they go top to bottom. Yeah, it's a big process.
Okay,
They
okay.
do they do courtesy inspections. If we're underway and they see that we're waiting for a job or something, they'll call and say, "Cap, can we come aboard? Give a little walkthrough?" And you can't say no. They're coming aboard. I mean, they're the guys. So they do a courtesy walkthrough. Just you got your life jackets, you got your license, everybody squared away. Okay, have a good day. So
Okay.
all in all, they're good guys.
Okay. All right. So you don't get any free downtime to go fishing off of the boat or anything like
No,
that?
no, no,
Okay.
no, that doesn't happen. No.
All right. Let's talk about the book Tales from a Tugboat Captain. How did this book come about? What made you start writing it?
People like tugboats, like you said, from the little kids. And the thing is, you drive over a bridge, or you drive down the road by the river, and you see the tugboat, and you have no access to it. So it's always something you couldn't quite grasp. You're always
Hmm.
wondering, what is that? What what are you guys doing? How do you live on there? You said yourself you don't know so much about it.
Hmm.
So I figured I would start um, trying to educate people about the tugboat business, and I try to make it funny and educational as well. So,
Okay.
and a lot of my younger days are in my first book, and some of the things I shouldn't have done, and some of the things I did do right. But people like tugboats, and they want to know. So
Okay. So you mentioned in the book that there's some personal stories of some things that you should not have done or should have, and or that you did do. I don't want to give the whole book away, but could you share a story from the book that's one of your highlights?
Well, the one I get comments on, the people that read the book, I was 20 years old and I had some downtime in Delaware. I was trying to get too specific. And the other deckhand, I was a deckhand then, the other deckhand and this engineer, we were all in our young, 18, 19, 20. I was the old guy. I asked the captain, I said, because the boat was down for repairs, I said, if we have time, we'll go up, we need to buy cigarettes, maybe get some magazines or something. He said, okay, sure, go ahead. So the first place we went to was the liquor store, of course, and that started the problem. And then we found a bar.
Oh boy.
And then it got worse. And we got into a scrape with the bartender and some people there, and it ended up that I did a lot of damage in the bar, and
Oh no.
and I got caught and had to pay for it.
Oh wow.
So it wasn't a good day, but people like reading about it in the book.
Okay. And these will not be the recruitment stories that we tell the young kids.
No. Well, nowadays it is zero tolerance.
Really?
We get random drug tests, alcohol tests, pre-employment tests. Anyone in transportation, no drinking, no beer, not one beer, nothing. So
even when like you said, you come into port, you have your downtime, you guys are not allowed to recreate?
Nope, not at all. Nope.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the difference. That was from the 70s to now. That's the biggest difference. Yeah.
Okay, big shift there. Shift there. All right. So, Tales from a Tugboat Captain. Where would one pick it up? Where?
It's on Amazon. It's print on demand, but it's on Amazon. You get it in a couple of days.
Okay.
Yep.
So, print on demand. You guys have internet access. Well, you said people use their phones and stuff like that. So you have internet access out there. You can do the laptop. You wrote it while you were on the boat?
Sometime on the boat and some at home was when I read it. It took me probably close to a year to write it.
Okay.
But once we got it through to Amazon, we don't have to keep a big supply of books on hand.
Yeah.
So you can go to Amazon.com and buy the book. So.
Yeah. I'm curious. Your wife, when she read your wonderful stories in the book, did she look at you and say, I'm kind of wondering why I'm still married to you?
We've had that conversation a lot. She said, I must be a saint. So anyway, yes, there's been some spirited conversations, yes.
Oh, okay. So the two of you, do you guys have kids?
We never did.
Oh, okay.
I was always working away and she was working, so we figured it'd be better to.
Okay, I was wondering
we'll wait, and then it got too late. So
yeah, all right. I was just wondering if there were some youngsters that were going to be following in Dad's footsteps there.
But we have it. She came from a big family, and I did. So we have a lot of nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews. So it's a big family anyway. So.
Okay. So like I've mentioned a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I'm pretty naive about the whole industry. I have these myths in my mind from my childhood visions. But, as you go about, what do you find that some of the myths that people have about the whole tugboat industry?
Well, you mentioned two of them. I tell people I work in New York Harbor, and they say, oh, that's great. You go uptown every night. You go up to the big city. I said, no. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is, do you do a lot of fishing? You catch fish? No, don't do that. But that's the two biggest questions.
Oh, really? Because I was assuming, I said, okay, they cook fish for dinner every night. They're just.
No, but that you hit them. You hit both big questions.
Oh, are you just not allowed to fish, or you don't have time to fish, or?
Well, we're always moving, and there's so much noise and turbulence. It just doesn't work.
Okay. Now,
some of the boats in the Gulf of Mexico, they get some downtime. They say they do some fishing down there, but up in the harbor where I am, it doesn't work.
Okay. Now, I'm thinking New York Harbor, from my experiences, it's very congested, tight space, correct?
Yes.
Ooh.
It's the harbor itself is the entrance from the ocean coming in, but there's rivers coming from all directions.
Okay.
So it's not like the Delaware River or the Mississippi River is just in and out.
Okay.
A lot of traffic comes from all directions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So, yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal because I'm thinking, when I'm on the freeway and when the big rigs come by me, I'm like, so for you to be the little guy in there and it being such tight quarters, but you're used to it now. You've been at it for 40 years.
Yeah.
If it was me, my first day, I'd probably run into something and they'd be like, "Oh, Lana, get her off the boat."
No, no, that's what I tell the new guys. I said, you're not allowed to hurt anyone. You're not allowed to run into anybody. You're not allowed to bend the boat. So just none of that. So, but you get used to it. You have to pay attention. That's for sure. Yeah.
So you're the captain. You mentioned engineer. Who actually drives the boat?
The captain has wheelhouse controls. He drives the boat. The engineer takes fuel for the boat and maintains the engines, changes the oil, and like that. The engineer and the assistant engineer, if you have one.
Okay. And then you mentioned mate. What does the mate do?
Well, the mate steers the boat as well. Say
Okay.
my time steering is from 6 in the morning till noon, and the
Mhm.
mate steers from noon to 6 in the evening. Then I steer from 6 in the evening to midnight. Then the mate steers from midnight to 6 in the morning. That's the 24-hour operation.
Okay. Now, what is the process when you get to the bigger boat? How do you guys connect?
The ships? Are you talking about
Yeah,
the ships?
ships. Yeah. How does the tugboat connect to the ship when you guys get to each other?
Okay. We have what is called a heaving line. Because the big line that we tow the ship with, it's an 8-inch diameter line. So you can't throw that.
Okay.
So you have a small line, it's 3/8, and it has a weight on the end, and you throw that up to the sailor on the ship,
Oh,
tie
okay.
it to the big line, and then
Okay.
and they pull it up to them.
Okay. Okay. So the next time I go to New York, I'm just going to be standing at the harbor looking at everything now, like and inspecting because now I know more. It's just a whole little industry that I had romanticized, in my
Sure.
50 years. So, but now that's more interesting and intriguing than I thought. That's cool. That's
Well,
amazing.
when you come to New York, you can take a ride on the Staten Island Ferry. It runs every half
Yeah.
hour from Staten Island to Manhattan, and
Uh-huh.
it's free. So you can ride back and forth all day. It's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
And be like, wait, I'm looking for Captain Thomas. Where is he
That's right. Yep. Yep. Yep.
at? Are you guys allowed visitors on the tugboat, or you have to have certain clearance?
No,
No.
they won't allow it. It's so strict now with the insurance and oil companies. They don't want any visitors.
Okay, and I'm especially you're talking about you do barges with highly volatile chemicals. I would imagine it really wouldn't be an environment where you would want newbies or unknown or people
No,
who just don't know what they're doing on the
no,
boat in the
no.
first place.
It's all safety driven now, and there's no visitors allowed. No.
Okay, okay, so we'll just have to look at you from the bridge, but that's cool. It's still nice. Okay, so
But if you come to New York, we could probably make arrangements for you to come to the boat when we're not physically working. That has
okay,
happened. I've had a news crew on the boat years ago from New York,
okay.
but we weren't handling barges or docking ships. She just wanted to come see the boat and talk to the guys and all that. So, so let me know when you come to New York.
Okay, yeah, I might have to. I'm up there. I have a cousin in the Bronx that I go see all the time. So I might
Really?
have to. Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Yes, indeed. So I might have to stop by. Like I said, I pass by, I go on the bridges all the time and I look and see, but it's just you see it, but you don't really, nothing really clicks. So, but
And
now I've talked to Captain Thomas.
yeah. So when you go over the bridge and you see the big ship and you see the little tugboat helping it, then you got a better idea of what's going on.
Yes, amazing. It's funny. That's why I love doing these interviews. I get to learn stuff that I didn't know. And, it's just amazing. So we're going to do the random question, Captain Thomas. And then I want you to let everybody know how we've talked about Amazon. And do you have any other like social media website that they can connect with you?
I don't have a website yet. We're
Okay.
working
Okay.
on that.
Okay. And before I do the random question, Do you know where young people or anybody would go to if they wanted to pursue a career in maritime? Because you said they have to get schooling, right? Are there certain schools around?
Yes, I guess they could Google it. There's a
Okay.
maritime college in their area.
Oh, okay. It's actually called a maritime college.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. Okay, that's what I need to know. All right. All right. So here we go. Random question. Let's see what we got here for Captain Thomas.
Who wrote the question?
I just pulled them out of
I know,
random.
but who wrote them?
Me.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. I didn't know if you had people write in or something. I don't.
Oh, no, no. I just, was sitting here one boring day and said, well, let me think of some random questions to ask. And, well, this one's easy. What is the worst thing about being male?
About being male?
Male, yeah, the worst
The
thing.
worst thing?
You probably rattle
That's,
off the best thing, but what's the worst thing?
that's a question you ask a woman.
Okay, I'll go easy. Let me see here. Let's see what we got. Well, this is an easy one too. Could you give up access to the internet for a month?
Absolutely.
I know you could because that's how you started in the game.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
All righty. I have truly enjoyed myself. I've learned so much, and we as human beings, we tend to walk around blind sometimes and ignore people during their day to day, and you were one of the guys out there that I have been ignoring for so long. So now my eyes are wide open.
Good. That's good.
All right. So please, Captain Thomas, please let everybody know how they connect with you, and once again, tell them how they pick up the book.
But the book is on Amazon, Amazon.com. I have a Facebook page,
Okay.
and that is Captain Tom Teague. You can see me on Facebook and put a lot of posts on there and pictures. Everyone
Okay.
seems to like it. So
All right.
that's two right now, and we're working on a website, but just haven't gotten there yet.
All right. Are you on the boat now?
No, I'm not. No, I'm
Oh,
on my
okay.
7 days off.
Okay. All right. Could you have done this interview on the boat?
Probably not. The connection comes and goes, and I didn't want to do it while I was on the boat.
Okay.
I didn't want to leave you.
All right. Didn't know if technology had evolved that far, but okay. Well, I appreciate your time today on your 7 days off because I know that you could be doing something else, but I appreciate you making time for me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.